Hello and welcome to Cycles of Time, your weekly guide to what's happening on Earth as we make our revolutionary journey around the sun. For time immemorial, our human ancestors have created myths and meanings to help us adapt and thrive as seasons change. Join me each week to explore the intersections of these ancient cycles, from the indigenous medicine wheel to the pagan wheel of the year, the Babylonian and Greek zodiac to the I Ching, the ancient Chinese book of changes. I'm your host, Alison Dale, and this is the Cycles of Time podcast. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Wheel of the Year weekly vibe report for the week of June 2nd through 8th. I am experimenting with a new titling format. Weekly vibe just seemed right. I wanted to give kind of an indicator for people on Substack specifically who are listening to this and reading the title as a way in about what this is. So my titles tend to get into the weeds with the transits themselves, and I thought I would just highlight it with the weekly vibe. So this is still the same thing, your week in the Wheel of the Year cosmic energy report for the week ahead. My cat is meowing and wants to be part of the game. So hi, Luna. Anyway, I just wanted to do a couple of announcements today. First off, thanks so much for all your input on the format of these transmissions, as I considered a different approach of writing about specific transits instead of a weekly overview each week. But many people reached out to say how much they appreciate the weekly format so that they can have a regular time to plan their week ahead with the energies at play from the worlds of astrology, human design, and the medicine wheel, the whooshing cycle, and beyond. So I decided to stick with the weeklies based on popular demand. So thank you so much for taking the time to send me the messages and comment on the post about that. I thought that one very thoughtful response that I got was likening these multidisciplinary weekly transmissions as medicine, similar to an herbal tincture. She wrote, "It's so tricky to envision how to share these transits through transmission to both honor the way you engage with it, but also in ways that people can access it. Compliance is key, like in herbal medicine. Some folks just don't want to taste the tincture, even if it is the quote-unquote best way of delivery. And if it isn't delivered at all, then the medicine has no chance." So really nice way of thinking about this, a tincture, a kind of blended herbal tincture perhaps being a really good way to take the medicine, but it's not always accessible if there's something that contains multiple parts. And so I thought that was really great. Thank you for that feedback. And the fact is, when I do post specific transit articles, I do get a lot more engagement and click-throughs than in these blended multidisciplinary forecasts. But the intersections between all of these systems is really where the magic lies for me. And so I'm going to keep up the Monday musings and also add in some occasional transit specific posts to keep it fresh and relevant and kind of broaden the net a little bit there as well. All of this is to say that I put a lot of work into this project each week, and I deeply appreciate all of you who support it. So if you do get value from these transmissions each week, please consider sharing them with someone who might like them, or upgrading to a paid subscription, which comes with plenty of goodies and deep dives each season. That's if you're on Substack listening to this. If you're on Spotify or Apple Music or anywhere else you're listening to podcasts, a simple 5-star review would be awesome as well. Thanks also to those of you who made it out to the Gemini season session and breathwork journey last week. It was really fun to touch in and share about the energies of the season ahead. And we did about an hour of discussion and lecture, and then journeyed with the theme of curiosity with our breath to tap into the somatic realm of Gemini season. I did hear that there were a couple of people out there who did not receive email updates about that session. And for that, I really do apologize. I am looking into the email servers and just have not been able to exactly identify the issue, but I will be sure to notify you with plenty of advance warning for future sessions and would love to have all of you there who are part of Embody the Revolution paid subscription on Substack as well. And I would love to have you all who are paid subscribers to Embody the Revolution show up for these events. They're really fun. The more the merrier. And also, I'm opening them up to people who just want to show up for a one-off and see what they're like. That last one was free, and upcoming ones, I will have a sliding scale available. And so we'd just love to have some more people come and breathe together and tap into the season as it presents itself in front of us. The next one will be held on Wednesday, June 25th, which is the last Wednesday of the month. And all of these sessions will be held on the last Wednesday of each month. So mark that on your calendar. And you can look in the show notes or on Substack in the article for a link to register for that event. If you would like to join Embody the Revolution membership, which is the paid subscription on Substack, it is basically a paid membership to walk the wheel of the year together, where you get a detailed guidebook for each zodiac season delivered to your inbox. It's a pretty in-depth magazine about the elemental and archetypical realms of the zodiac season ahead. So that comes out on the day that the sun transits into the zodiac season. So you can have a big workbook and plan with journaling prompts and lots of juicy visuals to tap into the season. It also comes with that monthly live breathwork journey on Zoom and a calendar of all the astrology and human design sun transits of 2025 and 2026, and also access to the chat to ask questions and share in community. So you can join that again through the show notes or on Substack, become a paid subscriber, and it's just $8 a month to get into Embody the Revolution and walk the wheel of the year together in community. So there's my promos. I generally really always skip ahead of promos. I like listening to podcasts, and I find that the ones that front load the promos, I know they do it for a reason because, more listeners in the beginning, but I'm always like skip ahead. And so I've tried not to do it in the beginning, but I'm excited about the offerings that I'm putting out there and would love to reel in some more folks over the summer to breathe together and to present this material in a more conversational and embodied way. So that is that. And it won't be at the beginning of every episode, I promise. Anyway, about last week, how did last week's Gemini new moon in the human design gate of the now and that Mercury Cazimi in the human design gate of skills show up for you in your world? For me, I'm always surprised by how the business of Gemini season does show up so quickly. I think I'm just kind of in that loungy, lazy Taurus vibe. And then all of a sudden, Gemini season is here and there's just a lot of buzz happening. I say it and then it appears. And even if I don't expect it, I think as a mother of a school-aged kid, there's this much anticipated last day of school that happens each year in Gemini season. And it makes so much sense that the last day of school would happen in Gemini season. Last week, I witnessed the phenomena of kids being let out of their cages for the summer and just this wild swarming energy taking over the breweries and swimming pools and parks of Santa Fe. More kids out and about than I'm used to, I guess. It's kind of like an older demographic in this town, although there are a lot of kids here. But that last day of school energy just really, I could feel it. And it felt very Gemini. So yeah, as I write this, I'm honestly tuckered out from all the unexpected socializing. And as I record this, I'm, just tired. But that happens, right? When you're just go. The first human design gates of Gemini season that we just experienced, the gates of the now and skills, were great reminders to stay in the present moment and follow my heart as the cross-pollination happened around me. I think that Gemini season is known for the buzz and pollination energy, but these two gates where the new moon and the Mercury cazimi fell last week really encouraged us to know that we ourselves don't have to create all the buzz. We don't have to do it all. And Gemini really this year is showing up with an energy of, if we choose to dive into what we're passionate about ourselves, like building on that sensual pleasure of Taurus season, if we continue to follow that and dive into what we love, like a bee diving into the pollen of a single flower, then we can know that the whole field will be pollinated with passionate abandon if everybody's doing that. And so not to get overwhelmed by all of the buzz that's happening, because sometimes I do. This upcoming week, the energy stays in that alive Gemini vibe as the sun enters the gate of change, which is gate 35, and that's kind of the middle gate of Gemini season. In the I Ching, this gate or hexagram is known as Qin or progress, and it's composed of the two trigrams fire over earth, kind of with the image of a fire spreading over the earth quite rapidly, changing things as it touches the earth. And this image follows the gate of skills nicely. It's about honing your own skills and power in the gate of skills, but also remembering to sense the seeds of genius in others and connect with others. Collective progress cannot exist in a vacuum and is dependent on interaction. So fire over earth is all about interaction. And that's how progress is made, is through change. And so it's through kind of honing your own skills first in the gate of change, and then interacting with others to share your skills with each other. Again, Gemini's archetypes of Castor and Pollux, the twins who were master boxers and horsemen in ancient Greece, and were kind of had this healthy competition where they would share with each other. So it's kind of like each individual person's radiant inner sun is coming together to shine like a fire's light over the earth in this gate of change. So this week in the Wheel of the Year, we are carrying through the medicine wheel direction of south, which is this direction of summer and fire and youth and the mental realm. In the Wuxing 5-element cycle or 5-phase cycle, we're in the element of fire as we approach midsummer. We're in the pagan season of Beltane, working our way towards midsummer or Litha, the zodiac season of Gemini until June 20th. And then this week, we are in the gate of change in the human design wheel of the year, which is, again, fire over earth, known as progress or advancement in the I Ching. And that's gate 35, the gate of change, from Monday the 2nd to Saturday the 7th. And then on Sunday the 8th through next Friday the 13th, the sun is transiting through gate 45, which is lake over earth, gathering together, aka the gate of the gatherer. This week we are in the moon phase, waxing moon away from that new moon in Gemini. And the planetary dances that are happening this week that I'm highlighting are Venus entering Taurus and Mercury entering Cancer. So those also highlight the theme of change that the gate is in as well. So, Monday through Saturday, the gate of change, gate 35, is the prominent energy, and Venus enters Taurus. After leaning into what we're deeply curious about during last week's Mercury cazimi and the Gate of Skills, this week we're riding some shape-shifting waves as the sun moves through Gate 35, the Gate of Change, and both Mercury and Venus are changing signs. Gate 35 is known in the I Ching as progress, and in the Gene Keys, 35 takes the journey from hunger to adventure to boundlessness. So, with all that movement and all that adventure and boundlessness, Venus is slipping into Taurus on Friday, kind of anchoring that movement. And she's moving from Aries into Taurus. And Taurus is the place where Venusian desire becomes kind of grounded and the senses become highlighted. And so Venus in Taurus is kind of like a wild traveler finally coming home and throwing their bags down and saying, all right, let's enjoy a nice cup of tea. So that's some good energy as a lot of other things are changing this week. Gate 35, the gate of change, is in the throat center in the human design body graph, and it's associated with communication and expression and overall the hunger and desire for new experiences. It is here to taste the whole buffet of life, and in the I Ching, it's known that advancement and progress can't happen without this. It's truly the gate of cross pollination, of hungering for sharing and participating in new experiences and communicating about them. So, this gate, this energy this week is about kind of being hungry for adventure and for movement and for the next thing. But it's also wise enough to realize that not all experiences are satisfying, that some experiences actually leave you feeling emptier than before. And so it's this chase energy that we want to be participating in all of the fruits of the season, all of the flowers again. But it's knowing that we kind of have to discriminate a little bit between what is feeding us and what is not. In the gene keys, this gate's shadow is hunger, and it's really that insatiable drive to chase the next thrill, the next relationship, the next project. It's the kind of hunger that's really never satisfied, no matter how much you consume. It's always there. But when you do stop chasing and start really deeply experiencing, all of these Gemini gates have a similar theme of like being in the now, building skills not based on what other people think, but based on what you love to do. And then this one as well is about learning while you're moving. Like the gift of adventure, which is the gift level in the gene keys, is all about really paying attention to what it is that's making you move in that hungry way. Not just trying to get to the next hit, but really being aware of what you're moving through as you're moving through it. At its highest frequency in the gene keys, gate 35 is known as boundlessness. And that is this moment of transcendence when you realize that the real adventure isn't out there. It's not the next thing you're going to get to do, but it's in that quality of awareness and in the way that you meet each moment rather than escape it by thinking about what's in the future. So this week, with the gate of change, you can ask yourself, where are you chasing the next thing just to avoid stillness? What happens if you fully taste the moment you're already in and see your current life as an adventure without having to book a plane ticket? And also ask, is this hunger a call to grow, or is it just a habit to go to the fridge and eat something? Are you actually hungry, or are you just hungry out of boredom? Venus and Taurus this week, it provides us kind of sensual anchoring into the embodiment of our senses. And so that might be helpful as Venus enters Taurus and we move through the gate of change to start to pay attention and become aware of what our hunger is telling us. As Venus enters Taurus, where she is at home, this is kind of the ultimate light a candle and feed yourself something beautiful, like make yourself a nice dinner. Venus in Taurus is slow and embodied and tactile, focused on pleasure without rushing and beauty without performance. And Venus in Taurus is so embodied. It reminds us that our bodies are altars and that relationships are gardens that need tending. Venus is also the planet of what we value, and Taurus, the sign, is also that time of year when the sun transits through Taurus where we think about what it is that is ours and what we value. And it's all about kind of value needing to be given to what lasts and what supports and what nourishes us. So Venus and Taurus, it's nice. It's a really nice placement, and it'll be interesting together this week with the change hungry energy of gate 35, where we'll be, hungry for change, excited about the next thing, probably like overwhelmed with the amount of things that there are to do as summer kind of takes stride. But We want to chase our experiences by rooting them in something that's real and something that we know that we're truly hungry for. So yeah, touch it with your skin. Involve your desire for the next thing in your senses and not just in your mind if you can this week. So some things you could do this week are kind of checking in about what it is that you're craving right now, and maybe write a list about what things that you want to do if you're making plans for the summer ahead, or if you're if you're responding to social engagements or anything like that. You can just ask yourself, when it comes to all of these potential adventures, if what you want to do is rooted in real hunger, or again, if it's a distraction. And each day during Venus and Taurus, or just each day of this week, maybe you can engage your senses in an intentional way where you think about the input from touch, taste, smell, sound, and sight rather than just the mental lists, and let your body be your compass for that hunger. Like sometimes I go to the grocery store and walk around and kind of do this muscle testing thing. A friend told me about it a while back, and now I do it all the time. But rather than making a mental list of what I need from the grocery store, I'll walk in and just see where I'm being called, what looks good, what looks fresh, what looks ripe. And I think being in Central America in the past month, I shopped that way a lot more because there was a lot more shopping at markets and a lot more fresh fruit that was grown locally. And so it's kind of felt easier to just tap into that freshness, I guess. But coming back to a country where there is a crazy amount of choice in any given supermarket, but the choices are getting more and more expensive all the time, that going in with just a list of what I think I might need from a mental perspective isn't always what is going to be the best for me. So letting my sense of sight and touch and smell be the compass just for something as simple as grocery shopping is something that I recommend doing this week as Venus enters Taurus, and as hunger is one of the elements that's at play. We all got to eat, and it's make it worthwhile, make it nourishing. Another thing to do this week could be creating a pleasure anchor where you pick one small daily action, whether it's like putting lotion on your skin or making your coffee in the morning slowly. Just picking one action like that you do every day that grounds you in the present moment, and build your awareness and your attention around that. There's some kind of counterbalancing things to do during Gemini season, I find, to make this transition between the sensuality of Taurus and to the hot middle of the summer of Cancer season. Gemini is this linking, mutable sign that takes us from one to the next, and it can kind of be disorienting sometimes. I think a lot of people look at Pisces season as a time where we really need to provide a lot of extra grounding, as it's between winter and spring. It's like Pisces to Aries is a big shift. But Gemini being another mutable sign like Pisces, I also find that grounding exercises during Gemini season are super important. And in the Wuxing wheel of the year, the 5-element cycle, Earth is the element that is the transitionary element between each season. So it's the element of late fall, but also in between spring and summer and fall and winter. Earth comes in as the elemental kind of alchemist that can support us. And so that earthy grounding, these exercises of sensuality and of returning to our feet on the ground, can be super helpful in mutable seasons in the zodiac as well. So that just kind of came to me a little bit as far as why I'm providing these things to do, I guess, this week. But for me, I think I'm talking to myself a lot here because I am one of those people where I'm hungry for adventure a lot. And I'm trying to remind myself that adventure doesn't always mean a plane ticket. It's sometimes an adventure can be slowing down enough to feel something very new in the ordinary minutia of the day to day. So that feels like the most relevant thing for what Venus in Taurus wants just to recognize. So moving on from Venus in Taurus and the gate of change in the beginning part of the week into Sunday. Sunday into next week, the sun moves into the gate of the gatherer, and on Sunday, Mercury enters Cancer. So at the end of a week of restless seeking with gate 35, that gate of change, and Venus stretching out luxuriously in the sign of Taurus, we are shifting gears again. Changes. Sunday, the sun moves into gate 45, the gate of the gatherer, and then Mercury also moves into Cancer that day. So Sunday will be kind of a shifting of the guard. The combination of Sunday's energies is more about sitting down and talking about how we really feel, having a meal together. It's a little bit like a nice respite after the week of let's explore the world and be hungry and decide what we're hungry for. So Human Design Gate 45 on Sunday sits in the throat center, and it is often associated with leadership. Gate 45 is known as the Queen or the Sovereign, and it is the one who speaks for the tribe. Gate 45 is the voice that is all about distributing what you have and knowing that true power isn't hoarded, but it is shared. In the I Ching, 45 is known as gathering together, and it's lake over earth, so it's kind of like the gathering together of all this disparate streams of Gemini season, all of the different skills and all of the adventures and all of the different changes that have happened are now on Sunday going to come together into a lake atop the earth, blending all those waters together into a kind of communal pool, a shared purpose, a unified direction. And so in the Gene Keys, gate 45 moves from the shadow of dominance to the gift of synergy to the city of communion. And the alchemy of this energy is when we stop wanting to control something, like a queen or a person in power, or it's a leadership gate. So someone in leadership, when they want to control, but really what the community wants is collective governments. That's something that has to be recognized. And we can learn from this gate that true wealth is something that is shared, something that's recognized. It's kind of a leading from behind gate of looking at what is needed, what is being gathered together from all of these skilled beings in your kingdom, all of these different people who are bringing together beautiful the adventures and what they're hungry for, and putting it all into the same lake and gather together in a way that serves the whole. It's really not about getting more for yourself, but it's about creating a container where everyone can thrive. So a personal reflection for me with gate 45 is I don't have many planets in Gemini. I did mention that I have Chiron in the gate of the now a couple of weeks ago, but the only other placement I have in Gemini is my North Node. So that's a point rather than a planet, but a very important point in the chart. And my design sun, so my subconscious sun, where the sun was 88 degrees before I was born, which is important in the human design chart, as human design looks at not only your birth chart information, but also that subconscious information that comes in when you were at the end of the third trimester, 88 days before birth. And so that is where the sun was when I was in the end of the second trimester, beginning of the third trimester in my mother's womb. And also the North Node when I was born was in gate 45. So when I've contemplated this gate in relation to what I have been called to do with my life, resulting from both what I'm hungry for, which is kind of my North Node, it's all about what you're hungry for, and also what I kind of subconsciously radiate, which would be my design sun. When I contemplate these things as it relates to my life, gate 45 does feel really aligned and resonant for me. I've never quite fit into other people's systems, but I've always felt called to build my own. And this desire to do my own thing is never out of rebellion or out of necessity even, but more so out of a deep, almost cellular knowing that there's something that I am here on this planet to gather together and then share. So when I started Cycles of Time, this project or astrosomatics before that, I didn't really know that I was stepping into gate 45 in a fuller way. I just had a calling to do this a couple years ago, and I knew that there were pieces that were coming from a lot of different streams, a lot of different traditions, astrology and human design, and then my relationship with the seasons in an embodied way, and qigong and the whooshing cycle that I was learning about, the mythologies of the medicine wheel and the experiences I'd had with breath work and somatic practices. And I really wanted to recognize and gather these all together in relationship, but didn't exactly know how. And I remember it felt very, very kind of like extreme, or like I was afraid that it might be misunderstood. And I didn't want to stitch anything into a doctrine or a dogma or even receive it in that way. But more so kind of, I found myself gathering all of these different systems like ingredients as I just went through my life and was drawn to activities and hobbies and studies, things that felt compelling to me. And so as I've gathered them together, I feel like I want to offer them like a nourishing meal in this format by allowing all the streams to come together into that lake upon the earth and kind of blur the boundaries a little bit to see what the unifying themes are. So same thing with astrosomatics. I wasn't trying to create a brand at all. It was more responding to a call that came to me again and again in the middle of the night in my dreams, where I felt this notion that there were people around me that were deeply into astrology, but finding astrology and systems like that kind of a bit too mental, a bit too stressful, actually, in the sense of like having to figure it all out or just having a lot of information, but not necessarily knowing what to do with that information in order to actually have it serve us in our decision making. So for me, astrosomatics was kind of weaving the cosmos into embodiment, and that made the stars to me feel less like cold geometry and more like a living conversation. And I'll say all of this just because I'm very reflective right now. Jupiter's going into my 12th house soon, and as I come to the end of Jupiter in Gemini, I'm thinking a lot about that's in my 11th house of kind of networking and community and kind of more how I'm seen in the world. And so as I enter more of a 12th house season of Jupiter in Cancer for the next year, I'm thinking about how that will be reflected, because it's a lot more of kind of an inner self-reflective place. And so I'm just thinking about what and why I'm doing here as I continue to do this every single week. So for me, learning about gate 45 and thinking about gate 45 this coming Sunday through next week really just made me feel like it all makes sense, and like my love for synthesis, my love for seeing the links between disciplines and between people and between what someone says and what their breath is doing underneath it really kind of come together with gate 45 being my north node and my design sun. So I move through life with a kind of inner loom, like a weaver. My grandmother was a weaver, and I really like to think about weaving stories in this way, and kind of watching and observing how things can be woven together to serve a greater pattern. And I used to think that was more of a personal quirk that I would kind of fight against, but now I see it as the work of the gatherer, the gate of the gatherer really showing up in my chart. So Sunday onward through next week, just take gate 45 is again known as a leadership gate, but I like to think of it more as stewardship than leadership. Leadership has a very certain connotation, but gate 45 is really more about listening, observing, and seeing where intersections happen, bringing them all together into a lake, and stewarding what the community wants and needs. So it's a nourishing type of gate. It's a nourishing leader who leads from behind. And I I never resonated with leaders necessarily in the way that how I thought of leaders having to be like alpha type people leading from the front and taking charge, like seizing the reins kind of thing. I appreciate those types of leaders, but when people have called me a leader in my life, I never resonated with that. But Gate 45 has helped me recognize that all I want to be as a leader, or to see in more leaders around the world, is building a hearth that people can come and sit around and share their skills and share their adventures and talk about what they're hungry for, and then kind of help that all come together into a pot. And I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing, like I said in the beginning of this, which is using that that hunger for gathering into gathering what I can and offering it up as in the most nourishing format as possible, and really listening for what wants to emerge through conversation and through communion. And that's with you all. So again, thank you for being here. Again, the same day as the sun moves into Gate 45 on Sunday, Mercury is moving into Cancer. And so, like I mentioned before, this is a deep emotional current about how we think and speak and process and gather. So Mercury just transited through Airy Gemini, which was where Mercury is at home. So kind of more fast moving, quick, curious, clever. So moving into Cancer is like moving from text messages to a handwritten letter, moving from a tweet to a tearful voice note. And Mercury in Cancer is all about our feelings, our memories, and the language of comfort and intuition. And it's more about deep connection than facts and statistics and data points. So as Mercury moves through Cancer over the next few weeks, it's a good time to reach out to someone you miss, and to revisit old creative writing or poetry, and also just to create a sanctuary around your mind and ask what kind of media you're consuming and if it actually nourishes you, and think more about how you are being nourished and connected rather than just the facts and data that you're taking in. So, paired with Gate 45 and with Venus in Taurus over the next week, we can really tap into an embodied, careful, sensual experience of how to operate for the good of the whole. That's kind of the over-under, is that we are using all of this Gemini energy of lots of buzzy stuff, but we're getting a little bit more of these gentle, more embodied energies with Mercury in Cancer about feelings. With Venus in Taurus this week, it's shifting into more of letting our other senses besides our mental faculty take a little bit more center stage. And so thinking about those things this week, feeling into those things this week, as we do hunger for new experiences, as we do get invited out into the world, as we do have to respond to social media posts and emails and news articles and all of the things that are constantly happening around us, we can take it from a different perspective. And we enter this weekend with the assignment of gathering meaning and leading from behind based on what adventures we've lived out over the past week. And Venus will be in Taurus from June 6th to July 4th, and Mercury will be in Cancer from June 8th until June 26th. So these energies will stay with us through the month of June. And so lean into those emotions, lean into sensuality and long-lasting values, and not just what's buzzing around your head in the moment. So this week, think like a wise elder who's walked through many adventures, which is Gate 35, and now returns with stories to share and wisdom to distribute, which is Gate 45. It's a time to speak from the heart and share what you've gathered along the way, and know that true abundance grows when you stop keeping score. Have a gorgeous week ahead, lovelies. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hearing my personal rambles about these energies. And if you ever want to talk about your own chart on the air, please reach out, Alison at astrosomatics.com. Let me know. I think it's really fun as the transits happen to see where they are resonant for you on a personal level beyond the a cultural level of how they affect everybody each week. So I'll see you next Monday when Jupiter enters Cancer for the next year. Big transit coming on Monday. And next week, we also are going to be basking under a full strawberry moon in Sagittarius. So big Jupiterian expansive energy coming in next week. If you would like to learn more about me and my offerings, you can visit my website at astrosomatics.com or follow me at astrosomatics.substack.com to get the podcast and article in your inbox every Monday. I'm also on Instagram from time to time these days at astros.somatics or Cycles of Time podcast, and you can DM me there or email me at Alison at astrosomatics. And if this post resonated for you at all, please click the subscribe button or leave me a comment. I really do love hearing from you and how the energies are showing up for you in the week. So peace out, everybody. Have a beautiful week ahead.